Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a special edition of On the Case with me, Detective Alex Cardinale. Today, I have a rather sad case that I am going to be discussing. This case is a mass shooting that took place in 1988. At the time, it was one of the largest mass shootings committed in the United States of America. But in today's standards, it's a pretty small mass shooting when we have Sandy Hook and some of the other mass shootings that are out there. But nonetheless, this is a crime that shook America to its core. Today, I'm going to be talking about the Richard Farley Laura Black case. And this happened in 1988. So, Richard Farley is the mass shooter, and Laura Black is the victim in this case. One of the main victims in this case is Laura Black. She was stalked by Richard Farley. So today I am going to break down the entire case of Richard Farley stalking Laura Black all the way through the crime. And then I'm going to bring on a law enforcement member who's been a law enforcement member for more than 7 years. And then I'm going to share my thoughts on this particular case. And then I'll talk about what to do if you are being stalked. So this is going to be an action packed episode. So so, a little bit of background information on this case. Richard Farley and Laura Black worked together at a computer technology company in 1988. Richard met Laura and fell in love with Laura Black. He began trying to flirt with her and form a romantic relationship, but Laura kept denying his request, which led to him getting angry. Laura got a restraining order against him, and Laura got him fired from his job. And one day, Richard Farley snapped, and the mass shooting happened. So, before we get started, I'd like to remind all our live viewers out there you can share your thoughts on this case in the comments. What are your thoughts on the Richard Farley case? What would you do if someone was stalking you? Post your answers in the comments. And with that being said, let's get started. Let's learn about the perpetrator. So here's what to know about Richard Farley and the stalking of Laura Black. Richard Farley was born on July 25th, 1948, in Texas. He was the oldest of six children. His father was in the military, therefore, the family frequently relocated and eventually settled in California. He graduated from high school in 1966 and attended Santa Rosa Junior College. Richard Farley then joined the United States Navy in 1967, where he stayed for 10 years. After his discharge in 1977, Richard Farley began working as a software technician at ESL Inc., a defense contractor in Sunnyvale, California. In April 1984, 35-year-old Richard Farley met 22-year-old Laura Black, who also worked at ESL Inc. Farley described himself as immediately smitten and later said that he instantly fell in love with Black. Richard began leaving Laura Black gifts, including letters and homemade baked goods, on Laura Black's desk and asked her out numerous times. Laura Black repeatedly refused the invitations and later said in an interview that she tried really hard to ignore him but to be cordial. Despite her refusals, Richard Farley persisted. He began calling her desk every few hours, as well as showing up at Laura's aerobics class. By providing false information to the ESL Human Resources Department through pretexting, Richard was able to obtain Laura's home address and home phone number. Richard was also known to have befriended the custodial department in an attempt to copy keys to Laura Black's desk so he could rifle through her files to gain an insight into her personal life. He was also known to have pried through confidential personnel files of Black through false pretenses. So Richard Farley is a very sick individual who at this point is showing that he is willing to do anything to learn about Laura Black and begin stalking her. During this time, Richard Farley was sending one or two letters to Black a week, though there were periods of time during which the letters would cease. In total, Richard Farley sent about 200 letters over a period of 4 years, with the final letter sent from his prison cell after his rampage at ESL. Laura Black had to move 4 times during those 4 years, but Richard Farley was able to attain her address every single time. So imagine being stalked by somebody that you had to move 4 times, and that stalker continues to find your new address. I can't imagine the fear that Laura Black was having. Richard Farley doctored photos of him and Laura Black being together and mailed them to her. He had a romantic crush on Laura Black and he thought they would be in a relationship. So, in the fall of 1985, Laura asked the Human Resources Department at ESL for help. ESL ordered Richard Farley to attend psychological counseling sessions, and despite attending these sessions, his harassment of Laura Black continued. By the spring of 1986, Richard Farley was threatening fellow ESL employees. Because of his poor performance, his employment with ESL was terminated in May of 1986. So, in other words, he was fired. He had been working for ESL for 9 years and spent several months stalking Laura Black full time, then found work at a rival company called Covalent Systems Corporation in Sunnyvale. Laura Black filed for a temporary restraining order against Richard on February 2nd, 1988, and it was granted by a family court judge. A court date was set for February 17th, 1988, to see if the restraining order should be made permanent. Richard bought a shotgun and various other weapons and equipment. The restraining order did not prevent him from buying weapons during that time. So now we know that Laura Black rejected Richard Farley and did not want anything to do with him. This led to Richard Farley going insane and committing the unthinkable, a mass murder, a mass shooting. So let's find out about the mass shooting committed by Richard Farley in 1988. So, on the day before the court date, February 16th, 1988, Richard Farley drove his motor home to the ESL parking lot in Sunnyvale, California. He later claimed he waited for Laura Black to leave work so he could convince her to rescind the restraining order. If she refused, he would commit suicide and kill himself. At about 3 p.m., Richard Farley loaded up his guns, a 12 gauge semi automatic shotgun, a rifle, a 12 gauge pump action shotgun, a revolver, a Magnum revolver, a pistol, and a Smith and Wesson 9mm pistol. He also had a foot-long buck knife and a smoke bomb, and he wore a bulletproof vest, earplugs, and a leather glove. Carrying over 1,000 rounds of ammunition with him, he approached the building while shooting towards bystanders. He entered a side door by shooting through the glass and shot at employees he encountered while heading towards Black's office on the second floor. Several employees were killed by his shots as he made his way through the building. Arriving at Laura Black's office, he opened her door, which she slammed in his face. He fired a shotgun round through the door, hitting her in the left shoulder and collapsing a lung. The injury sent her unconscious to the floor while Richard Farley moved on. Richard Farley then held a police team at bay for 5 hours by moving from room to room so the SWAT swipers could not target him. So he held police and the SWAT team at bay for 5 hours. Meanwhile, Laura Black regained consciousness and managed to prevent her wound from bleeding further while she and other survivors hid from Richard Farley. Laura Black and other survivors eventually escaped, and Richard Farley surrendered to police. Get this, folks, after requesting a sandwich and a Pepsi soda. So, after killing people and seriously injuring multiple other people, he gives up to the police for a sandwich and a Pepsi. A very sick individual. 7 people were killed by Richard Farley, with 4 more seriously wounded and injured, including Laura Black. 98 rounds were fired. The next day, Court Commissioner Lois Kittle made the restraining order against Farley permanent and commented, "Pieces of paper do not stop bullets." Laura Black survived, but was hospitalized for 19 days. She continued to work for the same company. Richard Farley wrote to her again from his prison cell, claiming that she had finally won. During trial, Richard Farley admitted to the killings, but pled not guilty, claiming that he never planned to kill, but only wished to get Laura Black's attention or commit suicide in front of her for rejecting him. His attorney claimed that Richard Farley was never a violent man and only had his judgment temporarily clouded by his obsession with Laura Black, and that he would likely never kill again. Prior to the shooting, Richard Farley did not have a criminal record. The prosecution documented every step of the stalking, produced all the letters he sent, and ammunition purchases a week before his rampage at ESL, as well as his other weapons. All this amounted to extensive planning, which was evidence of premeditation. On October 21st, 1991, Richard Farley was found guilty of all 7 counts of first-degree murder. On January 17, 1992, Superior Court Judge Joseph Byford Jr. sentenced Richard Farley to death. Because of California law, there were several automatic appeals. On July 2nd, 2009, the California Supreme Court upheld Richard Farley's death sentence. But as of 2 years ago, 2020, Richard Farley is still on death row in San Quentin prison. Now, I heard that San Quentin houses some of the really serious murderers. I would not want to be on death row there, but that is where Richard Farley belongs, death row, because he killed 7 innocent people and he injured many other for no reason at all because he loved someone that did not love him back and he stalked them. So this massacre helped prompt the state of California's 1990 passage of the first anti-stalking laws in the United States of America. So that is the crime that was committed by Mr. Richard Farley. He killed 7 people and he injured 4 people, or a little bit more than four. I can't remember, but that was the crime done by Richard Farley. So now I'm going to bring on someone that was in law enforcement for more than 7 years. He's a good friend of mine. He also co hosts another show that I do. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to bring on my friend Michael Petty, who is going to talk to us about his thoughts on this case. But first, I want to talk to Michael about his law enforcement career. Michael, how are you doing today, sir?
Hey, I'm doing fine tonight, Alex. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm glad you're here on the show. You're my first guest on my crime show.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. So, what did you do in law enforcement?
Patrol officer, all of it, and ran the gamut, of all kind of calls and traffic stops, domestic disturbance, robberies, rapes, you know, just the run of the mill calls you get, not working in a big city. It was not a big city, but it was a medium-sized little I wouldn't call it a town, but it's medium-sized little city, if you will,
That's true. So, how do you like being a law enforcement officer?
I liked it, but Alex, I wouldn't do it nowadays because of the way this country has turned their back on law enforcement and the way they're defunding the cops. And when they go out and do their job now, and they got to wrestle somebody to the ground, and with all these people who have cell phones on their cameras on their cell phones nowadays, they can get out there and watch any cop do their job, and they can doctor that those pictures up to where it makes the cop look like he's a bad guy, and the guy that he's taking to the ground is a saint, and I just wouldn't do it nowadays because they're putting too many of these cops up on trial nowadays because they say they're racist, they say they're all kind of things, and when they get them into court, like this, take this one and um, right now that is well, she just got found guilty not too long ago in Minneapolis, and it happened during the George Floyd. Her what happened with her happened at the height of that George Floyd trial. I mean, while that trial was going on with George Floyd, and that police officer, she stopped that guy. He had an outstanding warrant for his arrest for weapons violation. So and when they don't do what they're told to do, it makes it very hard for the cop and the individual both, to the outcome's not going to be good. I mean, she was going, like say, for a taser gun, but in the heat of a moment, when people don't understand, Alex, when you're in law enforcement, everything happens at the snap of a finger. You don't have time. You got to think quickly and fast. I mean, very fast and quickly. And if you don't, you're going to get yourself killed and probably another officer and probably another officer. But it was a very bad mistake, but on her part, and I'm not going to take nothing away from that. But what he was doing too, Alex, was not right because he was not cooperating with the police. He was not doing what he was supposed to. And she meant to tase him, went for her firearm instead, and it was a mistake. But she shot him, and it killed him. And now they tried her, and now she's in prison for, I think it's second-degree manslaughter. So cops have it really tough on them out there nowadays. With everybody, all the citizens having cell phones with cameras on them, they can't do their job properly without getting in trouble. Pretty soon, I got a lot of friends that are still in law enforcement, and pretty soon they're going to have to build prisons just for cops only, just for doing their job, and getting put on trial and getting convicted of a crime they shouldn't be convicted of. Just like, take for instance this guy that just killed this UCLA girl. We'll do. I wouldn't mind doing a podcast with you on that one somewhere
We'll
in the near,
definitely do
very
that.
near future. Yeah, and what I'm getting to on that one is he's got a long, lengthy police record. Um, he was convicted. He was arrested and released in North Carolina. Somehow he made his way to California, killed this girl, and they're just not putting him in jail and keeping him like they should nowadays, Alex, because with all these Democratic states, and these Democratic states are being run by Democratic attorney generals, and in those states, the attorney generals are the highest law enforcement officer in the land, and they got the last and final say so. Where they let them keep them in jail, they let them out, and things are not going. And we're living in a lot of these cities right now, Alex. The long and short, we're living in lawless cities. Thank God I live in Texas because we live under a Republican regime, and I know that Ken Paxton, our Attorney General, wouldn't be letting somebody in and out of prison like that long and lengthy uh, record, and has those kind of felonious, dangerous record like he did. How this guy was being able to be let out all these times and made it to California and was able to kill that girl. I don't understand, Alex. But the world we're living in nowadays, I don't understand. It's a mad and frustrating world we're living in.
I agree 100% with everything you said. It's a rather a shame now that people take out their phones and they film stuff that they want to film. They don't necessarily show the beginning or all the stuff of it. They do it to get views and make the cops look bad, which is terrible.
I agree, and it makes the cops look awful bad because they don't see the beginning of it or the end of it. They're just seeing what they want to see of it, and it makes and then what they'll do then, they'll turn it into the media. They'll put it on social media also, and it'll be putting so much pressure. It'll be like a pressure cooker when it gets back to the police department and to the police chief, where he'll have to react on it in a way that he wouldn't want to do it, but it's putting so much pressure on him from the mayor of that city to the city manager, which ours, the police chiefs, where they have to make decisions to do something to those police officers that they wouldn't normally ever do, because the pressure is mounting on them from the general public and from the media to act on that cop swiftly and fastly when they don't even know the whole details, and they don't even know what's behind that guy that they're arresting, whether he's been in prison before, whether he's killed somebody, whether he's raped a girl, whether he's stalked them, like this case you're just talking about. And and it's hard for the cops handcuffs. The cops' hands nowadays are handcuffed. They're tied. They can't do their job properly with all these cell phones with cameras on them, because when they do, somebody's out there to film them, and when they film them, they don't get the whole story, and they'll never get the whole story because they'll never know why they're stopping that guy or why they're doing what they're doing to him. That guy he could have been already been being chased and being tracked down because he had just killed somebody or he had just robbed a bank. But these people don't know that. They're just filming it and they're thinking, oh, here's the cop. He's harassing somebody else or he's racist and he's going to be mean and take somebody else down. They're just wanting to cops aren't like that. I know too many of them. They want to go out there and uphold the law. They don't want to go out there and hurt people and do that kind of stuff. But now they're getting tagged as the worst of the worst people by this Democratic Party we've got in this country, and they're labeling them as bad people, and they're not. Believe me, they're not bad people. I know too many of them that are good, very good police officers that want to uphold the law, that want to put these criminals behind bars, and they want to keep them there, but they can't keep them there when uh, they got attorney generals in these Democrat states that want to let them out of jail all the time.
I agree 100% with you. So, what are your thoughts on the case that I talked about today, the Richard Farley case?
Well, as you were reading all that, it makes me think about Sandy Hook when all this kind of stuff really got kicked in and started in this century. And when they don't never have a record to start with, it's hard to track them down and keep an eye on them and to do things. They've never been arrested before, and then all of a sudden they just go off the planet and go stark raving mad. But I see a lot of things that were setting patterns there as you were talking about all that most notably should have been taken care of before all that happened when he was threatening a lot of those employees, because nowadays if he did that it would be considered a terroristic threat. After the Sandy Hook killings, that took those kind of killings of what he was doing to a whole different level. And nowadays, just one person calling in, an employee, or even two or three calling in saying they were threatened with an inch of their life by an employee, they would really start looking into that. Law enforcement would, and really start going out with a fine tooth comb, and they would start putting a case together on that person. They would start doing background due diligence on them and try to head it off, Alex, before any of this kind of stuff could ever happen like that, and go off the deep end like that.
I agree 100% with you. I think it's a rather sad case, and it's horrible what he did. But there were signs that he could have done something dangerous with his stalking, and then it escalated.
Yeah, nowadays they wouldn't let that escalate nowadays like that because people would turn them in. They would do a report on it. They'd be following up on it every day. They'd be knowing if he got weapons, and they would, especially with a restraining order against him nowadays, he wouldn't be able to get weapons like that. It wouldn't be able to happen like that. So, but things are different now than they were back then when he did what he did. And nowadays, with the world being in such a different place we're in now, and these kind of things happening almost every day or every other day, they try to head these things off now very quickly and very fastly before, and sometimes they still can even this day and time, but they're doing a better job of it nowadays, Alex, than they ever have before, because I'm telling you, they got the tools nowadays, and the tools, the knowledge of the modern technology to be able to delve into their background and see who they're dealing with and see what they've bought, see what's going on with them, look and see in their if they've had any mental help, to see what's going on in their lives, and they'll really do a lot of everything. I mean, they'll turn that person upside down, right side up, inside out, and they'll try to prevent this really quickly and really fastly nowadays, quickly or more quickly, than they ever have before in their life.
That's awesome. I agree with you. It would not. It wouldn't. The chances of this happening now are slim, but it still does happen sometimes.
It does, and it still does. I mean, in a perfect world, this stuff wouldn't happen like this, but this is very far from being a perfect world, Alex. And there's still flaws, and there's still laws, and they still got uh, they still got the word I'm looking for. They still got stuff on the books where they can, fall through the cracks and get, you know, their lawyers can get them out on this and that. And if they do, though, the law enforcement is knowing all that, and they're right there on top of it, because it's still not, they still can't prevent it from happening this day and time like it did then. But with the tools that law enforcement's got to use nowadays, it's gotten a lot better in trying to prevent that and head it off from happening more so nowadays. After Sandy Hook, too, Alex, that changed the way this century they really started looking at people like that. And now they have got uh, leverage to go to the courts and to talk to the judges and the attorneys, and get all this information and go to the courts with it and to properly act on it faster and quicker nowadays than they ever have before in their life.
That's true. So our next topic, as a law enforcement member, what would you recommend people to do if they're being stalked?
Well, the first thing I would do, the very first thing I do would call the police, and they'll file a report, and they can't always be there to give you protection 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, around the clock. But I would tell them, I'm a firm believer. I don't believe in harming anybody or killing anybody, but I'm a firm believer in the Second Amendment rights, and for that person to go own a gun and to protect themselves, because uh, if they are being stalked, the only thing they could do is at beginning of it is to uh, call the police, put a restraining order in, and then if they come into their house, they got, by all laws, believe me, they've got the right to protect themselves. And if they come into their house, and a lot of women are nowadays that are getting stalked are doing that, but also a lot of women are getting up on self-defense techniques. They're going through, they're learning hand-to-hand combat, they're learning how to use a weapon, they're learning all kind of avenues to be able to protect themselves. So they've got all kind of tools readily available at their hands nowadays, and places they can go to be able to also protect themselves, also by other means besides putting in a restraining order against them, because a restraining order, as you saw, what you just read, didn't stop him from doing nothing. It didn't stop him. And nowadays, it's probably not going to stop anybody either. It's gotten even worse. So what I recommend is, if you're a woman and you're by yourself and you don't have a husband and you're getting stalked, go seek the best kind of uh, person or schooling you can go to get hand-to-hand combat, learn hands-on techniques about weapons, and learn how to use a firearm, get trained in it, know how to use your firearm. It's got to become your best friend. You've got to know how to use it. If you don't, you could get hurt by that firearm yourself. You, as a law enforcement officer, I'm telling you, I treated my gun with the utmost respect. Because accidents can happen, and when they do, it can literally be really bad. But I would tell any woman, if I was still on the force, to go seek um, go seek how to take care of themselves, like go take karate classes, go learn hand-to-hand combat, Go get familiar with a gun, buy one, get familiar with it, learn how to use it, because chances are, a lot of times that gun's going to save your life because the cops can't be there all the time, and it's going to take the cops a few minutes to get to your destination. If it's at your house, now if you're at work, then that might be a different thing because you'll have other people there to help you out. But if you're at home and you're by yourself, then you're alone there till the cops get there. So you're on your own. So you're going to have to rely on your own self defense tactics, and you're going to have to survive on your self instincts of survival mode, and that means everything that you've learned: guns, um, self defense tactics, anything. So always, Alex always told women to enroll in learn how to take care of themselves, taking karate classes, taking getting familiar with strikes, kicks, punches, where your pressure points are. Where you can how to you can take a man down, because even a strong man, if you know the pressure points to put on somebody and where they're most vulnerable at, then believe me, you can take care of yourself, be it man or a woman. So, with all that said, that's what I always did, because, first I'd always tell them to do, though, is file that restraining order. Next thing I told them to do, self defense tactics. Get involved in classes with a lot of other women that are taking this that have been either raped or being stalked. And, there's places you can go to look that up uh, in the internet. You can find them in your city. You can find them in your town. You can find them anywhere.
That's very well said. And I think if people know you have a gun, then they're less likely to mess with you because they have a fear of getting shot.
Most people are, Alex. Most people are. But if you are just wanting, like this guy was, just mentally sick and mentally deranged, I just don't think it's going to really put a lot of fear into those kind of people. So what's going to happen is, if they come into your house and and you got the door locked and they come in anyway and break the, like, if they come in and they break a window and come in that way, or they break your door down and come in that way, then you've got the right to shoot them in your own house. You're protecting yourself.
So, what would happen in the case that you had to shoot him and he died in your property? Would you end up going to jail?
Well, I would say no this day and time, but the way the world is, Alex, I couldn't, as a seven members on a jury, convict some lady, or that was protecting herself and also had a restraining order out against him, and she called the cops at the same time, and they were on their way there. But as they were on their way there, the guy was already in her house. He had already broke in and made entry. So you asked me if they would go to jail. The laws are, it's Alex. It's a we could spend a whole evening on this. I don't see how they could convict a lady by doing that, by taking care of herself like that. But being given the way the world is this day and time, what we're living in, I don't think a jury of her peers would convict her of that. I don't see how they would. And because you've got every right in the world to protect yourself when you're in your own house and they're breaking in and are going to kill you or rape you. So no, the answer to your question, I don't think she would go to jail, because you have got the right by law to protect yourself in your own house. It's the it's a God-given right to protect. I forget what amendment it is, but you've got the God-given right to protect yourself against um, perpetrators that are breaking into your house.
That's true. I know here in Florida she would be innocent because Florida has the stand your ground law, which means if someone breaks in your house and they're threatening you, you have the right to self defense.
I was going to mention that stand your ground law too. That's one thing I was going to mention. I can't remember if we've got it on the books here in Texas or not. I can't remember because I've been out of law enforcement now for quite a while. So, I don't know if they passed that in Texas or not. But if they did, then she's got every right in the world, and nobody in this state could convict her if they've got that stand your ground law in Texas. And I don't know for sure if they do or they don't. But like you do in Florida, they could not convict her when they got stand your ground law because all you're doing is protecting yourself. I don't know for sure if we've got that in Texas. I was going to hit on that. I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to hit on the stand your ground law. So, you know, but in Texas, we're under a we've got a good Republican governor. We got a good Republican attorney general, and we got good Republican. We got a lot of Democratic judges, and we got a lot of good Republican judges too. Though that I just don't see where a woman like that in this state, in Texas, mind you, would get convicted of that. But now in a Democratic state like California, I can't answer that question for you, Alex, because the Attorney General, as you know, that's now the Vice President of this country, she was turning murderers loose out of California and putting people in prison that didn't even deserve to be there when she was the Attorney General of California before she became Vice President of this country, and that's scary within itself. So ask me if a woman like that, what we've been talking about, would get convicted by just standing her ground law in California. I can't tell you what she would or not, Alice, because you've got attorney generals like her in other states that are letting people out that should still be in prison and putting people in prison that shouldn't be there. So, we're living in an insane society right now, Alex, where things that are wrong are right and things that are right are wrong. If you know what I'm talking about.
That's true. I had a great conversation with you today. I want to thank you for being here tonight. You added a lot of insight to the today's show.
Well, thank you, Alex. I would like to come on and do a lot more of these with you because I'm gonna start doing my due diligence on a lot of these cases that you're gonna bring forth. And because as well as wrestling, the podcast we're doing, this is well up my alley too because I love talking about this kind of stuff because this just gets to the meat of my heart when I see what's going on in this country. And I served in the military too, and to know what's going on with our military and our law enforcement in this country right now, it sickens me to my stomach because this administration we got now, as a vice president, as a president, Alex, I'll leave you with this tonight. They do not like me, and they do not like law enforcement because they do not like me in two different kind of ways. Because I served in the military and I served in law enforcement. They don't like law enforcement because they wouldn't defund the cops like they're doing, and they wouldn't consider them the criminals like they're doing, and defunding them and everything. So, I'll just leave you with this: we're living in an insane society right now, where right is wrong and wrong is right, and where evil is good and good is evil. So just think about that for a while and chew on that, and we'll be talking more on a lot of these cases later on, and we'll go delve deeper and deeper into this stuff as we go on, Alex.
Absolutely. I'd like to have you on all my on the case episodes. Are you free on Mondays?
I sure am, Alex.
Perfect. We'll have you on our all of our future episodes. I look forward to that.
Well, I look really forward to it too, Alex, and there's a lot more I could comment on a lot of this stuff, and we could go hours on these subjects, but with what I have seen on TV and what I talked to with all my law enforcement friends. So, um, but leaving it as it is right now with this episode, I'm just saying that guy was very sick, and I'm glad he's on death row, and I hope that out in California that they never find a glitch in the system out there to let him out on, because that guy, if they were to ever let him out of off death row, I guarantee if he ever roamed the street again, I guarantee he'd be a prime candidate and he would do it. He would kill again. And that's all I got to say about that.
You're right. He'd probably go looking for Laura again if he got out.
Or he'd be looking either for her or he would be stalking somebody else that he'd have another sick fantasy made up in his mind with, and he'd have another fantasy with another woman and he'd go after her and try to kill her too.
Sad.
It's very sad.
I want to thank you for being here. Have a great night, okay?
You too, Alex, and I look forward to doing this with you every Monday.
Me too. It's going to be a blast, and we'll also do a separate interview on your career as a law enforcement if you want.
Sure, I would like that very much.
I think that'll be a great video.
Yeah, I would like that very much, Alex.
Awesome. That's perfect. I'm glad we met because we can do so many videos together.
Yes, we can. This is only the start of a lot of many to come.
Very true. Well, you have a good Monday and a good Tuesday night.
You too, Alex, and I'll be looking forward to that podcast with you on Thursday about WrestleMania and Royal Rumble.
Yeah, it's going to be a real good one. So all my wrestling fans should make sure to tune into that.
Yes, I hope they do because it's going to be a blast. I'll be looking forward to it.
Me too. Sounds great.
Well, thank you for having me on, Alex.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Thank you for coming on.
Oh, thank you, and I hope you have a wonderful and blessed evening, Alex.
You too.
All right. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. All right, so that was awesome. I had a blast with my friend Michael. I want to thank you guys for watching this episode of On the Case with Alex Cardinale. Next week, on the next episode of On the Case with Alex Cardinale, Monday, January 31st, 2022, at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Pacific, we're going to talk about the Las Vegas mass shooting that was committed by Stephen Paddock. So we're going to talk about another mass shooting next Monday night when we talk about Stephen Paddock, and Michael will be on that show as well. So with that being said, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, the legendary Alex Cardinale, for more awesome videos, including the wrestling video that is coming up this Saturday. With that, stay safe, everybody, and I will see you on the next episode of On the Case with me, Detective Alex Cardinale. Have a great week, everybody. Hey everyone, it's your favorite man, legendary Alex Cardinale here. Love is in the air. Why is that? Well, Valentine's is right around the corner. I cordially invite you to be a part of the inaugural Valentine's 2022 Bash, hosted by me, the man you love, legendary Alex Cardinale. Come be a part of the inaugural Valentine's Day Bash live Saturday, February 12th, 2022 at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Pacific. Come celebrate Valentine's in style with me, legendary Alex Cardinale. I have a lot of fun action planned on Valentine's weekend with the Valentine's Bash. Chef Alex Cardinale is going to make an appearance on the Valentine's Bash. You can see Chef Alex Cardinale make a perfect Valentine's breakfast as he makes red velvet waffles with a delicious cream cheese icing. that is going to make your mouth water. Really delicious. And I'll also make my homemade chocolate lava cakes. Chef Alex will appear on the Valentine's 2022 bash, and you can only see Alex make the red velvet waffles with the cream cheese icing and the homemade chocolate lava cakes on Valentine's bash on Saturday, February 12th at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Pacific on my YouTube channel, the legendary Alex Cardinale. Also planned for the bash, I will discuss my ideal soulmate. I will discuss fun Valentine's Day activities that you and your partner can do on Valentine's Day and more. So this is going to be an awesome night for love and fun. Happy Valentine's, everybody. Join me live Saturday, February 12th at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Pacific, right here on my YouTube channel, the legendary Alex Cardinale. Yeehaw! Legendary Alex Cardinale here to invite you to a legendary party. It's the biggest party of the year. March 6, 2014, I created this here YouTube channel. On March 6, 2022, I will celebrate my 8th year as a YouTuber. And you're invited to the biggest party of the year. Live, Sunday, March 6, 2022, at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Pacific. It's my 8-year YouTube anniversary, and it airs live exclusively on my YouTube channel, the legendary Alex Cardinale. 2 of my 60,000 plus lucky subscribers will win a $80 Texas Roadhouse gift card. All you need to do is be an active subscriber to my channel. That means watch my videos, leave likes, and comments. 8 of my most active subscribers will be put in a drawing, and the 2 that get picked live win the $80 Texas Roadhouse gift card. There will be 4 legendary special guests. 2 of those special guests will be tropical fish keepers. The first confirmed special guest is Bob from Aquatic Rarities in Boca Raton, Florida. Bob is the owner of Aquatic Rarities, aka Malone's Monsters. I am proud to announce the interview will be filmed from his fish store, Aquatic Rarities, which is going to be awesome. There's going to be an appearance from legendary Alex Cardinale, Aqua Alex Cardinale, Chef Alex Cardinale, and WWE fanboy Alex Cardinale. Mick Foley has nothing on me. You will see the 4 personas of Alex Cardinale. Chef Alex Cardinale will show you how to cook a delicious medium rare prime rib, and he'll be baking a Twix cheesecake and Reese's peanut butter cake to celebrate 8 years as a YouTuber. Aqua Alex Cardinale will discuss all the fish species he's kept over the past 8 years, and he'll have other fish keeping surprises for you as well. WWE fanboy Alex Cardinale discusses his dream WWE WrestleMania 38 card. Where will the celebration be held? Where will I broadcast live from? Well, you can only find out if you tune in live. What other surprises will there be? Why will this be the biggest party of the year? You gotta tune in to find out. The 8-year YouTube anniversary is live Sunday, March 6, 2022, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Pacific, only on my YouTube channel, the legendary Alex Cardinale. I'll see you for the biggest party of the year. Make sure you are an active subscriber so that you have a chance to win an $80 Texas Roadhouse gift card on my 8-year YouTube anniversary. That means you like my videos, you leave comments, and you're one of my active subscribers.